rise and shine.
But still looking at our flash news this morning, we move to the very next issue. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party has been on the neck of the federal government and the presidency, cut it across different issues happening, whether it's COP28, the fact that Nyesom Wike has decided that 15 billion naira is what he wants to spend on, building what would we call it, a worthy resident for the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Now, the presidency has lashed out at the Labour Party candidate in this year's presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, for attempting to whip up public sentiment against the Bola Tinubu administration over the budgetary provision for the completion of the Vice President's residence. Now, let's pause. I usually like to have conversations around English. So if you say that 15 billion is allocated for the completion, we're not even talking about building the residence from start to finish. We are saying to complete a building that has already been built. Nyesom Wike and the presidency say they want to spend 15 billion. And now you're saying that Peter Obi is trying to whip up, sentiment on the street and on the social media that, the presidency is in the wrong. One question that our guest asked yesterday, is Kashim Shettima the first vice president that we've had in this country? Where have all the other vice presidents been living before now? Remember that when the Tinubu administration was going to be sworn in, their wives were given a tour of the presidency and the lounge. What exactly did they give them a tour around? What were they looking at? Was it green grass? They made news all around it. The wife of the president, all of them, they went there, looked at all these facilities. What exactly were they looking at? And why was it okay at the time? And now Nyesom Wike wants to spend 15 billion naira. So that's the clause. They want to spend 15 billion to complete a facility for the vice president. But yet, 8,500 that they said they were going to share as palliatives to Nigerians, half of the citizens in this country don't know where that money went to. So let's head on. Now, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, has said in their 2024 budget proposal, they earmarked 15.5 billion for the renovation of the vice president's official residence, a development that Peter Obi, in a couple of tweets on his verified X handle, described as shocking and disheartening. Now, reacting to Obi's comments in a statement yesterday in Abuja, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity in the office of the vice president, Stanley Nwokocha, the presidency said the quest to give the vice president a befitting residence started in 2007. So since 2007, they're trying to make us understand that several administrations have been voting monies to renovate that particular facility. Now, they said the target for the residency of the vice president of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives is also among this initiative. So now the conversation is, shifting from the vice president to the fact that they also want to provide a resident for the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. They have a similar target. Now, you're saying that we have 15 billion target for the presidents of the Senate, for the presidents of the House of Representatives, and that of who did us in this country? Because these are not things that we should be treating with kids' gloves. We've seen civil society organizations really try their best. Serap has called the president of the Senate and asked him to probe this particular move by the FCT minister. Now, if you also find out now that news is giving us the fact that they also intend to make this particular residence available for the president of the Senate and that of the House of Representatives, do we really think that Godswill Akpabio, the Senate president, is going to want to probe Nyesom Wike? These are just pipelines to waste taxpayers' monies and the monies that are borrowing in the names of Nigerians.
It's a sorry situation. It's disheartening. It is mind-boggling. It's worth crying. It is worth having a panic attack over. It is what even some Nigerians contemplating, God forbid, suicide. Because when you look into the different things that is coming from the National Assembly, from the presidency, you can't help but wonder what exactly is happening to us. How do these group of persons think? From which side of the bed do they wake up from every morning? And how do they even sleep? Knowing that the generality of Nigerians, the multitude of Nigerians, regardless of the wealth of the nation that is abundant, are living in abject poverty. How do they sleep and wake up knowing that while they are feeding off from the public's wealth, while their dog is even feeding better than the hundreds of Nigerians, the Nigerian people are still hungry and looking for the smallest thing to just get by each day? And yet somebody would sit in the confines of the AC room, the AC office, the AC car, bulletproof car that is provided for by the collective wealth of the people, and still not think of how to better the life of the generality of the people, but to better their own life. Now you would ask, in all the countries of the world, how many countries devote such huge amount of money to building edifices for their president or vice president or the members of the National Assembly? You know, the UK, you see the Downing Street, it's been there for generations. It's been there for the longest time. How many times do we see money being voted for renovation? How many times do we see money being voted for upgrade, for furnitures, for silverwares, for kitchen refurbishment? These are all things that makes you wonder, the crop of politicians from Nigeria, are we cut from a different coat? Like, are we not humans? Are they not humans? Did they not go to school? I mean, it is even more shocking to know that these are persons who have traveled the world. These are people who have communicated with other leaders across the world. These are persons who are consistently also still traveling the world, still having engagement with other leaders across the world. So if for instance, you came up from a very rude background, a very crude background, that you didn't know how to conduct yourself, how to prioritize the welfare of the people, by virtue of association, by virtue of communication, by virtue of the different conferences and the different leaders that you have, have interactions with, one way or the other, wisdom should be able to rub off on you. So when Nigerians sit down and look into what is happening, it will make a whole lot of people say, oh, there is no hope. And then it further raises a whole lot of questions on the touted renewed hope agenda of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. What exactly is the renewed hope renewing for Nigerians? Are we renewing a whole lot of more suffering? I came across a video yesterday, and we always would joke about it, that Nigerians, make a whole lot of, fun and jokes out of very serious situation. Maybe that's how God allows us and helps us to cope. Because otherwise, maybe literally all of us will have mental, issues as a result of the situation happening in this country. And it simply was, what has the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's administration done for Nigerians? One thing we can take for a fact is that the federal government had agreed. The subsidy palliative that was meant for the Nigerian people didn't get to nobody. Just last week, we had government officials who were arrested for diverting the palliative that was meant for the people. And then you ask, to what end? Are we sure that that person that has been arrested is going to face the full wrath of the law? How many of those who have been arrested in the past have we seen any further trial being made as a result of that? So we vote out money, paltry sum of money. We vote out, we get to buy things for Nigerians, and these things never get to Nigerians. We're talking about 25,000 air conditional transfer a year. And so far, a lot of questions are being asked. I am yet to come across one Nigerian who would call in and say, oh, I have gotten the money from the federal government, conditional cash transfer. I am yet to find one individual who says, oh, we have even done documentations, we are awaiting the alert to come into our phones. And remember, even when those incidents kickstarted, I said, you cannot. It is now that we are looking at how many thousands of Nigerians trying to verify their NIN and link their NIN to their BVN. So when you give criteria that multitude of people are not going to be able to meet it, and especially the people who are classified as the poorest of the poor, is literally a very big, not even a pipeline. Maybe you should call it an ocean surge to drill the money of the country into the hands of a few individuals. So how did we get here? How are we going to be able to advance past this page? Every year, every budgetary allocation, you will always hear, Nigeria is borrowing, Nigeria is borrowing, Nigeria is borrowing. And then the federal government will try to make excuses for why the borrowing has to be done. But when you look back, you cannot see very tangible, time-tested project that you can say, oh, the federal government borrowed $500 million US. This is the project that was channeled to. And in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this project is going to generate XYZ revenue back to the government of the day. And then, of course, as a result of that, we have something that will generate money for us to continue paying back the loans that was received. And Nigerians will always ask, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Tajuddin Abbas, all the people who have been saddled with the different portfolios as ministers or appointees of this administration, if Nigeria were your personal business, will you run it the way you are running the country?
It's a big issue, especially now that we see that the presidency is coming out also and trying to play on the intelligence of Nigerians, trying to explain the way, yes, let's go back to the very beginning. The presidency is alleging, of course, that this project did not start out as an initiative of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. No problem. It started out in the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration. Please, can we go back into the books and go back to our mathematics and find out what the GDP of the country under the administration of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was? What was the IGR of the country? What was the debt ratio of the country as at the time that Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was the president of the country? As at that time, was it wasteful still? Yes, it was. Is it worse wasteful now? Yes. You can't tell us that it is because this initiative was signed and approved for in the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and you come when the country is nearly broke and tell us that it's still okay because it was okayed in the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration. It is a project that still shouldn't see the light of day under this administration. Over 130 million Nigerians living below poverty line. Let's go back a little bit. Since May 29, we've had several people go below that number because several businesses have had to shut down. The environment of carrying out businesses in Nigeria is not conducive. Should we talk about the number of international organizations that have quietly packed up their property and left this country? They're no longer doing business. Do you want to do the number of people that have left businesses? There is no explanation for what the presidency is trying to do. Whether Peter Obi or not has a thing against the federal government, that's on the one hand. But Nigerians can clearly see that we have a set of very wasteful people manning our economy. You cannot keep borrowing money and seeing that we are doing wrong investments and you're trying to explain. Now, the presidency is asking that more cerebral Nigerians should come and help them cross-check the issue on the table. These cerebral Nigerians are calling you out and saying that this is not okay. It might have been okay in the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Goodluck's administration had money to waste around. Not that it was a good idea because it further pushed us to the place that we are, but those guys had money. Everybody, money was flowing from the top to the bottom. People could do businesses. We had international organizations being able to thrive within the country. You can't talk of a country that everyone is folding up arms and leaving the country. Under hush hustle, nobody's talking about it. They're just leaving the country. Hundreds of companies. Look at the oil and gas sector. How long ago have they been trying to sell off ExxonMobil for other people to come and take up business? It's unrealistic as a nation. Now the problem is it is flowing from the presidency down to the local government area. The big question is, how are we going to get ourselves rid of the condition that we have found ourselves in? I remember someone sharing a couple of days back, you know, when we get resource persons to come and talk about some of these issues, a resource person literally says, like, stop calling me. I'm not interested in talking about Nigerians' issues again because it's same old issues. No one is listening. No one is bringing to bear any form of change. We're talking 15 billion. 15 billion also out of the budgetary allocation for 2024 is earmarked for the trips of the president and the vice president. 15 billion. How many billions of naira, Francis, has actually been budgeted to a sector in this country that will affect the common man in the village? How much? We talked about upending money in the health sector, upending the budget for the education sector. How much of it was upended? But yet we are putting out monies to waste, and the presidency is coming to come and explain their folly to the nation, calling out Peter Obi. Peter Obi is the least of Nigeria's problems as of now. The election seasons have ended. Nobody's clamoring around whether it should be the president or not. We need to see what will work in the country. It can't be a debate of words between Peter Obi and the presidency at this time. What is not working is not working. And we don't even know who to trust, because to say that Serap is saying that they are going to take the National Assembly to court, probably take the presidency to court over this, which part of the judiciary is going to stand on the side of Nigerians to make sure that these kinds of wastes do not continue?
Well, it's a very serious issue at this point, yeah, and it's more alarming and more frustrating to say that it's coming at a point and from a man who has, you know, experienced and enjoyed wealth in abundance from his time as the governor of Lagos State, now to becoming the president. And it's even more disheartening to see that this man came on board with the touted renewed hope agenda, and then, of course, promising Nigerians that is not coming, according to his wife, that is not coming to use the wealth of the nation. He's coming to give to Nigeria. This has been a long dream, according to President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. In his words, Emilokon is my turn. So Nigerians would ask at this point, what exactly was it your turn to do? Was it your turn to further plunge Nigeria into hardship? You know, just referencing the video skit I saw, and the skit maker started with asking President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, so in your few months in office, what have you done to Nigeria? And the president's, the mimicking of the president was that I've plunged the country into hardship and hunger and starvation. So look into the lives of the people. Look back before the May 29th announcement of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. How were Nigerians faring? A lot better. May not have been a bed of roses for everybody in this country, but a good number of Nigerians were able to get by every day because you could buy fuel at a smaller price and then be able to run your business. Now, MSMEs in the country across Nigeria who are significant contributors to the GDP of this country, who have been touted as the much, vibrant agents of change and transformation, are folding up in their numbers on a daily basis. You will not see those statistics because we don't even have the statistics in this country. Why is that happening? Because people can no longer afford fuel. You do not have public power to run your business. The fuel that you could turn to as an alternative source of energy is at the highest price at this point in time. Those who are using diesel is even worse. We have yet to see the federal government who said they were going to subsidize or remove the tax for diesel to sell at a cheaper price. Still today, diesel is still at what it used to be. So how are you changing the narrative? Every day the federal government wakes up and tells Nigerians, oh, you guys have to be patient. Change, positive change always will come with hardship. Nigerians can be patient. Nigerians can understand. But when that patience and understanding is coming with visible evidence that you do not care about the Nigerian people, you do not care about the welfare of the Nigerian people, nor the businesses operating in Nigeria, it creates a chaotic situation. It makes the people understand and feel left out. It makes the people to be angry. And the more angry the people get, the worse the situation is going to become. It was one of our guys who said, we don't want to get to the point where the NSAS protest that happened in 2020 happens again. Because if we recall, it was a peaceful protest. And the tragedy that happened, which of course the federal government of this country, the Lagos state government is yet to account for the incident that happened in that, on that fateful day. It is not going to be business as usual. The Kano State incident is already giving us a test. It might get worse than that because Nigerians are tired of being pushed to the wall. And when we go back to the different, coup d'etat that has happened across Africa, it goes back to the situation like this. When the people see we have abundance of natural resources, we are blessed, and the resources of our land should have been able to ensure that a greater number of the people are living in good conditions. But they turn around and see that a collective few that you can count at the tips of your fingers are the ones benefiting from the wealth, while the generality of the people continue to live in abject poverty. And it seems that this group of persons who have the opportunity to be there are not in any way thinking of how to lift every other person out of the situation, but rather how to further oppress the next person. It creates a serious crisis that nobody knows. Nobody is praying for it. And we will never want to pray for any form of coup d'etat in Nigeria or military takeover. It doesn't help anybody. But the Nigerian politicians, the people who have been given the mandate of Nigerians to lead, need to rise up to that responsibility. And however you want to describe it, Uyai, Nigerians will say, okay, fine, fair enough. We should have a befitting of house for the vice president, for the president, the Senate president, the house of the rep speaker. Yes, no problem. But shouldn't that come when we have enough wealth and resources?
Why are we extending to build houses for the Senate president and the leader of the House? What happened to their houses, the mansion that they live? See, we should juxtapose what we're doing. If we say that we are borrowing democracy from the Western world, if we think that the United States is our standard, let's ask questions. In the United States, do they build After the White House and where the vice president stays, do they have a special house for the head of parliament? Is that what they do? In other countries of the world, go to the United Kingdom, we have members of parliament driving the buses to their workplace, not having an entourage of 10 vehicles going with them. They will come out. How much did they vote in this country last couple of months for vehicles? Was it not over 130 million naira per vehicle? We are being unrealistic as a people. We are being unrealistic as a nation. And this explanation by the presidency, it doesn't suffice. You're trying to tell us that, oh, calling up the numbers from when Peter Obi was the former Anambra State governor, we have said Peter Obi is the least of our problems. Do right by Nigerians. If you're saying that the issue is that, yes, we have a lot of abandoned projects at the federal level, you have to choose the project that would directly be beneficial to Nigerians at this time. The residence of the vice president to the tune of 15 billion naira right now is a waste. Take 15 billion naira, share it amongst owners of SMEs in this country, MSMEs. It will go a long way. They were talking about sharing money for MSMEs the other day, and they're talking about giving 50,000 naira. Even if a person that wants to start a restaurant business, that takes you for only a bag of rice. What happens to all the other things you have to buy? It doesn't make sense. These people are not interacting with the reality of things in the country, and the presidency is in no right for this kind of argument at this time. But we'll just allow it to rest though. Nigerians have to stand up and speak for themselves. They have to find a way to tender their grievances to the leadership of this country, because this is not working. Well, underage voters, that's the next issue. Because it's just like from one heartache to the other. Literally, you need to drink water and calm down. It's not working.
Well, it's a sorry situation. Unfortunately, it's a very sorry situation that sometimes you just sit back and then you would ask literally, why was I born in Nigeria? You know, that
no working systems, no willing leaders. We're meant to have servant leaders, but everybody's just laden with greed, how much they can take for themselves, stealing to the tune of billions of naira, monies you cannot spend in your entire lifetime.
Well, money meant for generations, and I've forgotten the singer that sang. I mean, okay, I think it's Kiss Daniel Neal's song. I mean, if you have 31 houses, you only sleep in one, and inside of that one house, you just sleep in one bed, one room. What happens to the rest? If you die today, they sell it off. And then, of course, you know, God has a way of doing things, and nature has a way of dealing with people who do not think that God can do anything or that anything can happen to them, because they are the powerful, they are the mighty, they are the influential, they are the elite of the elite, and they control the wealth of the nation, they control the resources of the nation. Don't take for granted the fact that you've been given that opportunity to lead, because it is God. However you say it, Allah, God, somehow the people made you to stay where you are. And when you take the people for granted, God help you. When the people decide to revolt, we've seen it happen in history, and nobody's going to be able to save, you know, the few people who are in power. But we are not going to revolt as Nigerians, because we are a peace-loving people. And all we just want as Nigerians is for the leaders to sit up and rise up to their responsibility. And what is that responsibility? The responsibility of giving to Nigerians the true dividends of democracy. That is the need of Nigerians at this point.
Rise and shine.